Hello, everybody, and thank you, the Evans Foundation, not only for this great conference they have organized, but also for the work they have done, and we've done together in the last seven years. You said 7 years, I thought it was even 8, but okay. It's so yes, it's a bit strange, no, to have two persons to to make a presentation in a conference. But the point is that let's say I've been working on media literacy in the last 10 years, and now the ball will go into Marisol's pitch. So she will take over the responsibility for the media literacy policy file within the European Commission. Well, we've had David's presentation, and I think it's quite difficult to come after that. Clearly, we don't have the time to discuss all the points, but I would say that very briefly that I quite agree with him. I think the analysis he's made is absolutely true. And I would also like to thank him because he used the words of one of the greatest Italians of the 20th century, Antonio Gramsci. So I hope you will give me also the possibility to read you the words of somebody. So the words are, let's face it, the digital revolution is over. Yes, we are now in a digital age to whatever degree our culture, infrastructure, economy allows us. But the really surprising changes will be elsewhere, in our lifestyle and how we collectively manage ourselves on this planet. Well, these words are from Nick Negroponte, but I would like to challenge you to tell me when he wrote or said that. Well, I can't ask. It's a sort of rhetorical thing, but those words were pronounced in 1998. So 17 years ago, the digital revolution was over. And I think the sad thing is that when we read now documents about education from member states, from the Commission, you still see a lot of, we need digital skills, we need digital skills. I have the impression that we are a bit short of ideas. So in these 10 years that I've been working on media literacy issues, if I have to say one thing, one important thing that I've learned, is that in order to be universal, media literacy has to be taught in school. That is the baseline for me. And this is very important. And we know that the situation now in Europe is very far from being homogeneous. And I also would add satisfactory across the different European member states. In its 2009 recommendation on media literacy, the Commission had invited member states to open a debate on the inclusion of media literacy in compulsory education. And also a project, a study was funded in order to have a picture of what the situation was like in Europe. I'm talking about the project Emedus, carried out by the Autonomous University of Barcelona. So as today we are convened here in this conference where media should meet literacy, I think our work, your work, as from tomorrow, should be to set the right conditions for media literacy to meet school. This requires a lot of work and engagement because, as the Commission even reminded in the recent Digital Single Market Strategy document, the responsibility for curricula lies with member states. So this is a work that has to be done, and very often even with local authorities. As it is a sort of inspirational session, I would also just give you very shortly, my personal view on what the contents of an hypothetical media literacy education course should be? Well, I think it should focus on content rather than on technology, or even worse, a specific technology, digital. It should focus on critical and social competencies, as opposed to coding, for example. It should boost creativity, and most importantly, raise curiosity. And it should give everybody the ability to be aware individually of what we are doing collectively, of where we are going collectively. So this is what I retained after these years working on media literacy. Now Marisol will tell you a bit more about the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Matteo. Very challenging to speak after you and after all your long experience. So this had happened in the European Commission, that the file on media literacy was moved from the media unit to a different unit that is called Convergent Media and Content. And this is the unit where I'm working. But first of all, I would like to thank the Events Foundation. I was really touched by your words, Tim, that the aim of the foundation is to keep this idea alive, that Europe is the best safeguard for peace. And we forget this often, and we also forget that we are working for an institution that received the Nobel Prize for Peace. And it's very important to bring this again and again to the forum. So I'm very grateful and very impressed of being here under your auspices. And at the same time, I'm a bit terrified in front of the audience, because I've been working with this file for 2 months, and you are experts who have been working on this for a decade. And what I put together is some ideas, some thoughts of my readings, and also the knowledge and experience that Matteo passed to me. And all this is open to debate and to confrontation, and I will be really happy to listen to your reaction to this. So coming back to the work that we do in this unit is responsible, among other things, for 2 files. One file is the Audiovisual Media Service Directive, and the other file is Media Pluralism and Freedom of the Media. So this means that the change of media literacy from one unit to another means that we will also change the angle to which the European Commission is going to look at media literacy. So I will speak about 3 points. The first is media literacy in the context of the Audiovisual Media Service Directive. Then the second point is media literacy in the broader context. And then what can we do at EU level? So I'm a lawyer, so I will go really into the legal text of the Audiovisual Media Service Directive. And this is important. It's Article 33 of the directive is the only legal text of the European Union where there is a reference to media literacy. And the Article 33 says that when the Commission plans to make a proposal to modify the directive, it has to take into account the levels of media literacy in member states. So this is the reference to media literacy. And then in recital 47, we have a definition of media literacy, which is for the purpose of the directive only. Media literacy refers to skill, knowledge, and understanding that allow consumers to use media effectively and safely. So when we look at this directive from 2010, and we try to understand what the legislator wanted, what we see is that the legislator make a link, as David was saying, between consumers that are informed, and that are able to make choices, and the need of legislation. So there is a trade-off. If you have literate consumers that can distinguish between advertising and editorial content, then you can be more flexible on legislation. And this is the scope, media literacy in the scope of the directive. And in practice, now we are going through a process of revising, or rather reviewing the directive. What we have to do is to look at what is already available about media literacy levels. So I reassure you, David, we are not going to launch a new study about measurements of media literacy levels. We will look at what already exists. And we will take that into account when proposing new legislation. And so far, I came across to a very, very interesting report from 2014 from the European Platform of Regulatory Authorities, so-called EPRA. And I found two very interesting conclusions. They have done a research in all their members about media literacy, and they really agree with David. The vastly different ways in which the concept of media literacy is defined, implemented, and promoted across the members is really broad. And so it's really very difficult to measure media literacy. So this is almost an impossible task. 2 minutes. So then you will have to talk to me because I will not manage to finish. And then the other point is that, in fact, it's not true that if you empower people, you don't need legislation. In fact, the latest development is that at the same time that the situation becomes more and more complex, you have more media literacy actions taking place, but this does not replace legislation. They are supplementing each other. So that's in the context of the Audiovisual Media Service Directive. Then, media literacy as a set of competence that allows citizens to develop critical thinking in the digital era. So this is really a very broad expression, and I'm very, very convinced that media literacy is impossible to define. It's like the definition of culture. All of us know what culture is, but we cannot agree on a definition. But what everybody seems to think that the key stone is critical thinking. So in any definition, you need to have this notion of critical thinking. And what we have also seen is that there is a revival of media literacy. So David spoke about the birth and the death, and now we see a revival. And the revival came after these unfortunate events around Charlie Hebdo. We already have in Paris in March the ministers of education that declare that media literacy is an urgent need. It's the same words that David used. So there is an urgent need to cooperate, coordinate, and to exchange experience at European level with a view to enhance critical thinking, in particular in the use of internet and social media. So here we really go, I think, to a revival of media literacy. It's going to be more and more important in a society that is becoming more connected, more complex, and where more critical thinking is needed. I go quickly to my third point, what can we do? And here I fully agree with David, is to celebrate practice. We have already the EU expert group on media literacy that we will continue, and we will use all the media that we have available, newsletter, Twitter, to celebrate practice, to discover and to bring good practice to the forum. And of course, during these days, I will be happy to listen to you on your ideas on what kind of useful role the European Union can play. And if you are using Twitter, you can already follow our official account, which is @EU_medlit, and this would help us to discover the community. Thank you very much, and let's hope that we will have fruitful and inspiring conversations.